I started practicing mindfulness when I was in my 20s, and I studied Buddhism with Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, and I actually worked very closely with him. I was his private secretary. I did not discover focusing until I was in my 50s, early 50s. So that came much later. And for me, it really was kind of a missing link. It allowed me to find felt senses and to find feelings. And as I was saying, it allowed me to get fresh insight about some of my own habitual patterns, like patterns of avoidance, for example. So then since I was already a meditator, I couldn't help doing it in the context of mindfulness or meditation practice. But after I had been doing this for a while, then I started teaching it, especially within the Buddhist Sangha. And at first I called it deep listening, because it really is a kind of deep listening. And because I sensed a real need for that in the Sangha, in the meditation community. So I began teaching it mostly in the context of Buddhist groups. And the more I taught it, the more the mindfulness meditation background, which was already there in my body, began to somehow affect or integrate or create a context for the focusing, even though the two are quite different, both in their process and their purpose. But they complement each other and they empower each other. And so then I had the thought, well, let's see if I can actually articulate that in a book and provide a series of fairly simple exercises that would allow the reader to begin to find this capacity in themselves, to be in touch with the felt sense and to allow it to open up for them things that either they haven't known about themselves or things that have been buried, hidden. And these can include very uncomfortable places and feelings. In meditation, the general technique is whatever arises, we notice it, we acknowledge it, but then we let it go and we come back to the breathing or whatever the object of meditation might be. In focusing, it begins in a similar way. You have to be able to pause the momentum of discursive mind and really settle the body and bring awareness down more into the body. But then we don't just notice and let go. We choose to be with a certain issue, problem, challenge, something that's going on in our lives, and to kind of sit with that. And often you begin with having to tell yourself a bit of the story, to think about it in the usual way. But then you have to just drop that and just let the awareness come down into the body and notice what the body is holding or how the body feel may reflect that issue or problem that you're trying to work on.